Josh Neighbors, Big 12 Watch with us here on 365 Sports. Josh, this is an interesting week in the Big 12, is that now that we're past the halfway point, we see where the conference is going. There is, I don't know if it's a race to the bottom or it's a race to like crawl out of it, but the mediocre are clashing now. Oklahoma State and Baylor clashing this week. West Virginia and Arizona. I'll leave Kansas in the mediocre category for right now, even though they've been bad. But, then you have some mediocre teams like UCF and Kansas playing good teams. What's the story of the Big 12 for you this week?
I am firmly on the BYU UCF game as a big story this week, because you see 3-4 UCF, 1-3 in the Big 12. Their one Big 12 win was a 21-point rally against Colorado. Right, and that was it. It was TCU. Who did UCF beat? Who am I thinking of?
TCU.
TCU. Yeah, they rallied against them. They rallied to beat TCU. Yeah. And then BYU obviously is 7-0, 4-0, but the line is UCF -2.5. And to be honest, Paul, like that makes a lot of sense, because talent-wise, especially on like the offense. I mean, defense. UCF's defense not very good, but the offense, there's still playmakers out there, and there's a different dimension with Ja'Cory Brown now. I mean, the running game for them is very, very good. And I feel like I've watched Gus Malzahn win this game a million times already, right? Classic, like, disappointing season, but big team plays Auburn, and they win the game. Like, I've seen that happen before. So I feel like UCF's got a pretty good shot at that. And BYU, obviously, like, the metrics, the computers do not like them, because – I mean, it's spitting out the number -2.5, and it's actually held steady recently. So it shows you like the computers are as skeptical as I am. I mean, they're good at winning games, but these are all like tight games. It's got a little bit of TCU vibe to it. They've had some blowout wins, but like it's got a little bit of TCU vibe to it. But they're just not as talented as that TCU team was that ran the table. So yeah, that game. I mean, I think it's. I think BYU has the opportunity to lose multiple games in a row. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I agree with you, but it would not surprise me to see them lose like one of them and then find their way to the other one, because that's kind of what they've been doing. Yeah, they just. I mean, they did it last week. They did it last week. Let's go to Oklahoma State and Baylor. Garrett Rangel played a magnificent game for Oklahoma State, and then he got hurt. And it was something maybe we didn't think with. I wonder why this wasn't more of what they were trying to do early on, and like where it was, or if there was ever any true competition with Alan Bowman, or if they just said, okay, Alan's the starter again because he's back, for a 45th year in college football. But they look good. Then Rangel gets hurt. He's out for the year. They're back to square one.
And that defense, that last drive was horrific.
Yes, absolutely horrific. Baylor, on the other hand, had a renaissance all at once in Lubbock. It all came together. Sawyer Robertson was fantastic. Josh Cameron was great. They had special teams. They played a fairly complete game, and they held Tech in check as much as you can with that offense and with Taj Brooks and all that. This is homecoming here at Baylor. This one is 3-4 versus 3-4. Baylor's a 7-point favorite. Is this where Oklahoma State maybe gets put completely in the ground, or can they rally?
Yeah, I mean, I've got no clue what's going to happen in this game, because last week's result really came out of nowhere, and it makes you think, like, what does I was talking about this on my show this week? What does Dave Aranda have to do to save his job?
6 games.
You think it's going to take 6?
Yeah.
Because, like, to me, there's no, like, what is Baylor good at? Like, they're not particularly good at this. This is my big thing, is like, I know winning is the bottom line, but I like for teams to have an identity, or like, I love the way they curtail what they do to their personnel. Lance Leipold was a master at this at Buffalo, and he was a master of this the first few years at KU. really, really good. No matter who the quarterback was, curtailing what they did to that, and that was part of the staff too. Baylor, to me, like if they have a defensive-minded head coach, isn't the goal? And I know they have Jake Spavital in there, but like, isn't the goal to play defense? Like isn't the Gary Bohannon team basically the dream? Right? Just grind it out, run the football, play some defense, turn you over. Really develop players. Block it well up front, zone. Just all that stuff. And last week, and it's great if they can start chucking the ball around again. That'd be wonderful. But I mean, we all watched Sawyer Roberts. It's not like he's been super consistent. We know he's talented, but just not consistent. Yeah. So, I've been thinking with the schedule they have, Paul, because they're not playing that many good teams. If they ran the table, he can keep it. If they go 2-3 the rest of the way, or I guess what do they need 3? They need 3-2 the rest of the way. Depends on how it looks, but what you have to prove to me you look like a functional team, that has ideas about, hey, this is what it looks like. I know Spavital's first year. I know it's hard to switch coordinators, but what is it that Baylor does well? Is my big question.
Week to week, we have no idea. Everybody in the room shaking their head right now is well, I don't know. The good news for Baylor is that this is the part of the schedule where they can get those 3 wins. And here's the thing, if they don't find 3 wins out of Oklahoma State, TCU, Houston, Kansas, and West Virginia, then there needs to be a coaching staff change. Yeah. If you cannot find a way after you just played your best game in 2 long years, if you cannot find a way after that to win 3 more, then there has to be a change.
I mean, if it looks anything like it just did, then we're having a totally separate conversation, right? If they're Texas attacking people, and I mean, it's going to be on a smaller scale because Tech's defense is terrible and their offense is really good. So we're talking more about, hey, they dog Oklahoma State this week. Bowman throws 2 or 3 picks, fumbles. They're capitalizing, good long possessions with points, preferably touchdowns. We're having a different talk. But what has been proof that it happened? And look, seasons turn. Turn. I mean, how often do we see in pro and college football? Team X hits the Virginia Tech last year, right? They ended up they started ripping off wins, get to 7-6, and by the end of the year, were they playing like a 7-6 football team? No. So if it happens like that, then sure. I just it's just not been consistent enough for me, and I keep wondering what they do well, because 59-35, whatever it was last week, it's not I'm that looks like a Dave Aranda performance, vintage right there. It's not what I thought. So I mean, if he wins different ways now, it's totally fine. Just keep winning, but identity is what I need, because if you look at them statistically, numbers wise, they aren't really tops in any kind of category.
Yeah, absolutely. Tech goes to TCU this week. I think TCU's favored in this game.
Point.
And I mean, maybe for my end, I see Tech bouncing back. I think that they're in much better shape last week, notwithstanding, than TCU is, but maybe I'm wrong. Both these teams have been hard to pin down.
I'm seeing the total right now at 66.5. If you can bet that, I would.
Yeah.
That's a high number, but man,
yeah,
the chances that this thing's a slugfest are very low. TCU has not been an effective team running the football this year. They're starting to rebound a little bit, right? They're starting to come to. The smelling salts have woken them up just a touch. They won 2 of their last 3. The Houston loss was bad, but you grind out a 13-7 win. The problem, once again, is they can't really run the football. So they've basically become the bad version of Texas Tech last year. They just chuck it a million times, and that was it. At least Tech's got the balance, the run game to balance it out. But if you beat Tech, you're at 4 wins. You got Baylor on the road, which is a winnable game. Oklahoma State and Arizona come to you, and you got Cincinnati. I mean, there is a path here to 8-9 wins for TCU. It hinges on them winning this game, but there is a path to 8 or 9 wins, in my opinion. But this is a weird game. It's usually a pretty close game too. So I expect it to be pointsy. I think what was the spread? It's 2.5. Is that correct? It is 6.5. TC's by 6.5. So I mean, that makes sense. A lot of points. So yeah, pointsy is what I'm expecting.
Yeah.
And I like a home team. I like a home team in this situation, even though I think Texas Tech is probably more well-rounded. I think TCU's it's kind of a moment for them. They need to get this thing done. But
yeah, they do. I think that I did a top 5 earlier this week that was like 2025 hot seat, and Sonny Dykes is on it in 2025.
Yeah, we don't know what the contract looks like, so I think obviously it makes it, but they've got the money there to fire him.
Yeah, well, look, they're not like nobody's buyouts and all this stuff. Like that might buy you a year now.
Yeah,
like that probably buys you a year. It doesn't buy you 3 anymore. Like they used to, it would buy you 3 years. It'd be like, listen. Well, like basically, they'd be like, "Look, we're going to fire this clown." You know, I'm not saying it's Sonny Dykes. I actually think Sonny Dykes is an excellent coach, but like, you know, they're like kind of give you like, "Look, we're going to fire this guy in 3 years." Like but like, look, we can't pay him $22 million right now. We can pay him 7. So like, we're just gonna have to write it out. But rebuilds take 5 years anyway. So
yeah,
you know, like, but that's not the case anymore. So I also don't understand. Like in Brent Venables' case, he got the 6-year extension. Why not just up the money and not the years?
Well, if you up the money because that'd make the buyout higher, wouldn't it? I mean,
if you don't extend, like the buyout goes higher because they have to pay out all those years, right?
The same salary over the course of time, yeah.
Give him a couple more years. Don't give him 6. Give him 2.
Well, coaching contracts don't make any sense as it is now.
No, they're negotiating against themselves.
I don't get it. It never makes sense.
It never makes sense. Like. Unless you are
somebody's coming for your coach.
Yeah. And here's the deal. If somebody is, you got to, I say, let him go. Because if he wants to leave, let him leave.
Yeah.
Like, just go get another one. Like I know that it's a hard thing to like build a program and you lose a coach and all this, but don't be so fatalistic. Like just use your brain, find a good coach. You know, the Lance Leipold's, Kalen DeBoers and guys like that are out there, you know.
People don't like the pro. That's why A&M finally did the right thing, right? Like they fired the sexy name and Jimbo, I mean, you know, he lost a little bit of his luster, but like they fired the big name coach they paid all the money to, and they got the guy who everybody's like, yeah, this guy's a good coach. And guess what? Texas A&M looks really well coached this year.
Yeah.
Don't they? They look like just a solid unit.
Yeah.
And like, do I think LSU's top side is higher than A&M's? Yeah, I do. But man, A&M's going to be a really tough out at home because the crowd, because they don't make a ton of mistakes. And it looks like Connor Wegman's playing a lot better than he was before. And like, I think a lot of schools are just afraid to go for guys like that. You know, it's like, I know it's pretty easy for Kirby Smart, you know, to say like, it looked great, you know, he's a Saban coordinator, whatever. But like 2 of the best hires have been made recently, Sark and Kirby.
Yeah.
Right? Just guys who it's like, these guys were really, really good. And guess what happened when they became head coaches? They're really, really good.
Yeah.
Because they kind of just went through what they had to go through and they came out the other side and they're ready to rock. And like, I think there's just kind of a desire to be like, let's interview Jon Gruden. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Why would they interview Jon Gruden? We don't know if he can coach in college.
Yeah.
Why would they hire him, Edwards?
Somebody that's a bigger job than Jon Gruden deserves in college will interview him this offseason.
Right.
His agent will get that done because there's an AD out there that's worried about, like, I've not made a good look here. If Jon Gruden wants to coach in college, honestly, he needs to take a job at Southern Miss.
He can pick up Trent Dilfer's job when they fire him this year.
Yeah, like he needs to go to UAB. Like he needs to prove it there. But there's going to be someone that's open in the ACC or in the Big Ten or somewhere like that that's going to be like, you know what? Let's bring him in here. Like that's my fear or my thought about that. It's like somebody's going to be like, you know what? This is the guy. They're going to lose their young coach. You know what wouldn't be surprised to see him go though, because I think Jamie Chadwell's finally going to get a look. Decently somewhere in the P4, which I hope for, is Liberty.
You know, it's weird. So Liberty is because Chadwell had the chance, at least in my opinion, to go somewhere else at some point, right? I mean, he had to have. Liberty has got so much money. Mm-hmm. It's like such a stupid amount of money that they can pay Jamie Chadwell, I mean, whatever they damn please. And obviously they paid him pretty well. So I'm wondering if he wants to leave. Like, there's so much security there. They're going to win like 11 games every year. You know, so I'm wondering, like, that'd be weird. Jon Gruden at Liberty. Good Lord. Could you imagine?
I would not be surprised to see it happen. I think somebody's going to come for Jamie Chadwell.
Jamie Chad? I'd love to see him in a variety of places. Where would you like to see Jamie Chadwell?
I would not like to see him at Florida because I think he'd do well there, and I hate them. But
I agree.
I don't think he's big enough name for them right now. But I would have liked to see him at Auburn instead of Hugh Freeze. I think that would have been a much more inspired hire. I would love to see him anywhere that opens in the Big 12. Honestly, he'd be a great, if Aranda leaves, he'd be a fantastic fit here. He really would. He's got this Scott Drew vibe. He's got a cool offense, all those things that everybody likes. Now, I think they'll go with a Texas guy if that happens here, but
right.
I would love to see, there's a lot of places I would love to see Jamie Chadwell.
Oh, yeah.
Even a Wake Forest or something, I think he'd do well there. I think he'd do well. Although Dave Doran's done a good job, except for this year at NC State. There's a lot of places that he could do well. If Shane Beamer does well enough at Syracuse,
maybe how about this Virginia? I mean,
yeah.
I know they're a little bit better than they normally are, but I'm still not even sure they're going to make a bowl. But
okay, look, I'll tell you this: Neil Brown's in trouble. Neil Brown's definitely in trouble.
He's dead. I mean, this team's got
It's this year or next year,
they didn't get any better.
Yeah.
That isn't that so last year we watched them win all those games, right? They win 9 games plus the bowl, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're watching there is that it's okay, they're beating everybody they should beat. And they've got a quarterback who's clearly found his identity now. He's not the accurate passer, but he's really effective because he can run. And basically, with the other backs they have, you've got to account for all their offense. It's a lot of space. The way that Josh Heupel's offense makes you cover all the parts of the field, Garrett Green's ability and the way Neil Brown called it, made you cover a lot of the field. And they blocked really, really well. And the receivers had a ton of time to get open. And you look this year, it's all of these games where they had opportunities to beat teams that were better than that or, better than them, a weight class up, they did not pass those tests. Penn State's really good. Well, they lost by 22 at home. Pitt is pretty good. Well, you lost a game, honestly, you should have won in the shootout. Iowa State beat you by 2 scores, and Kansas State beat you by 27. So, every time you've kind of stepped up a weight class at all, because, their wins have come against Albany, who cares, KU by 4, and they've been in exclusively close games, and Oklahoma State, you beat pretty badly, and they're not very good. So, they're not improving, and they're not better. And they're Avery Johnson guys tore him up through the air last week. And Avery Johnson, they're you know what, this is a great opportunity to see if we can get him going passing because this is the weak part of their defense. And a guy who struggled passing lit him up. And that's really discouraging. So they didn't get any better. And I think it's a huge problem. And I think that Neil Brown's not going to last because as fun as 9 wins was, he got lucky that the athletic director was new, I think, in my opinion. That's why he got to keep his job. And I love what they did last year, but they didn't build on it this year, and with mostly the same guys, especially on offense.
Yeah, and they've got an NIL collective that steps up for them when they need to. Look what basketball's doing right now, getting guys in there. So yeah, I think Jamie Chadwell at West Virginia makes a lot of sense, man. He would do very well there. Well, Josh, enjoy the weekend. Enjoy a Friday night without high school football. Live, damn it, live. Smell the flowers.
I'm gonna make my dinner on a Friday night tonight. I'll tell you what, guys, it's about the small things in life. It really is. Yeah, tonight I'm gonna sit down. I'm going to put on a really exciting UNLV Boise State football game.
Heck yeah.
And I'm going to chop up some spinach. Also, Boston College is playing Louisville. I'm going to chop up some spinach. I'm going to chop up some tomatoes. I'm going to put these $5, they're chicken breasts, and they're preseason things from Kroger. Put those in the air fryer. I'm going to mix it all together and make a nice salad. All right. I'm going to crack a Blue Moon. I'm going to sit down on my couch and watch college players play, as opposed to on my phone being I wonder what the Oklahoma State score is, as I'm 2 hours away from Little Rock. So I'm very pleased. I'm looking forward to it tonight.
Enjoy it, Josh. Just drink it in that Blue Moon.
I will. I love you guys.
All right. Love you too, Josh. Josh Neighbors, Big 12 Watch. This is 365 Sports.